time to even play with my mic. Okay, now we're live. And let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. Idipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijajarana Sampano Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisathamma Sarati Sattha Dewa Manduttang Buddho Bhagavati. So let us meditate for the next couple minutes so that we clear our minds, start the new year with some meditation. So this morning we're going to do mindfulness of the breath while we're listening to the chant of metta. Back straight, shoulders relaxed, relaxing all the muscles in our face. 3 deep breaths. additional 2 deep breaths. We now switch mode to loving kindness meditation while maintaining awareness of the breath. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from mental suffering. May I be free from physical suffering. May everyone around me be free from suffering. May all of my wishes be fulfilled. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free from mental suffering. May you be free from physical suffering. May everyone around you be free from suffering. May all your wishes be fulfilled. We take 2 more deep breaths. As we come to concluding this morning meditation, you can now as we come to concluding this morning meditation, you can now start to relax your concentration and slowly arise from your meditation. So good morning to everyone across the world. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Present in front of me is Heath. I swear every Sunday I'm like, no one's going to show up. But particularly New Year, definitely no one's going to show up because they've all had a drink. Now, truth be told, Austin came over with a bottle last night. And so Austin have abstained from alcohol entirety. And when I opened the door, I saw this bottle in his hand. and it was some kind of a grape sparkling thing, and it says non-alcoholic. And I said,
That's perfect.
I was just too tired because he waited for the ball to drop in New York. Apparently, the TV did not show the ball dropping in New York, so it was like a little disappointment um, for Austin to waited all that long with his parents watching all of this on TV, and then came over to see me at 12. So by 12, I'm done. And I really used every ounce of energy last night to just entertain my wonderful best friend. And so yeah, I thought that I was gonna do a TikTok on it, but I'm like, no, no, you've done enough laughter with Austin. You should not hold this bottle and do any more TikTok because then you'll lose your job by next year. I wanted to capture this moment um, as we start the new year to talk about some of the students that I have been guiding, and I want to talk a little bit about the ego and the practice of the non-self. Something very profound that I identified, overlooked, and with the help of Austin's observations with some of these students, I was able to get closer to taming students' egos, the Gen Zoomers specifically. Upon this reflection, I realized, well, let me give this forward initially. Number one, some students have been with me for a very long time, even before I start. Sorry, I'm still getting wishes. Happy New Year wishes. So I need to just mute all of this. Some students locally here have been with me before I became a monk, and some students have worked for me when I was owning my own business. Like I said, like I said, um, they made one third of the company. I was very well loved, and I loved every single one of them. I don't think I ever let anybody go, at least directly. And if I did, probably two indirectly. I had a very soft and unique way of letting people go instead of making it all dramatic. But according to my memory, out of like 50 people who worked for me, I probably two that I let go silently. Probably was not exercising right speech when I let them go. And it was more like, yeah, the season is slow right now, and we will give you a call once it picks back up. The students that are with me now who transitioned from regular employees way back then to assistant to students, I have no doubt that they have unquestionable respect for me. And it is I that battles their ego, their Mara, their psychological demon, and it is not them that I'm battling with. And so, what does that mean? That now, Venerable, now you have students that used to work for you, now transition to your students. It meant that I'm paying more closer attention to them because I have some basic and intimate prior information about them and their families. So I care. Um, and as a result of that caring, a teacher could, in fact, get a little bit too attached, especially direct supervision and trying to fix things and micromanage. And the middle way of trying to fix what's happening, and the middle way of just trying to don't be too hard, don't be too soft. What it is, the middle way of trying to tame their mind so that we don't chase them away. And then it's trying to don't be too hard, don't be too soft. What it is, the middle way of trying to tame their mind so that we don't chase them away. And then they go back into their old ways and become not productive kids, young adults. They're not kids now. But I use the word kids and adolescents as anyone who's under 25 fits the scientific definition of adolescence. Some students still hang on to, well, because they're in their 20s, it is still in the identity formation stages, pursuant consistent with the theory of Erik Erikson, identity formation. And so therefore I realized, yeah, when I look back at when I was 20, like, who was I? What was I doing? As Austin, my best friend who's here with me, we have a lot of time together, a lot of reflections and intimate time. What does that mean? That has nothing to do with sexual intimacy. So don't mistake it. Intimacy. Intimate mean to confront in the so don't mistake it. Intimacy. Intimate mean to confront in the presence of another. And again, Austin and I known each other for 15 years. Nothing that we have not done in life through the partyings, through the trials, error, tribulations, the group of friends that we were with. So now that we are, you know, in our 30s, Austin asked me as we sit underneath a tree at night looking at the lake, he asked me, yeah, why did you choose the monastic life again? And it literally opened up a hour and a half conversation underneath the tree of dependent origination. It just brought everything back. And the one and it's intimate because it really goes deep into the soul. It goes back into the wounds, and it goes back into everything. Why did I become a monk 7 years ago? Um, yeah, and I, as we go through in details, literally, I should have just recorded the darn thing so that when someone makes a biography of me, they're gonna like, oh, we have an actual account of. I didn't mind going back in time. A lot of people really traumatic when they go back in time. I didn't really mind going back. I mean, obviously, Austin's asking for a reason. Um, as we plan the future ahead, making progress ahead, and it's good to do a life review, anyways, from time to time. And as I reflect, and as I reflect in my life, it directly relates to how I'm treating these students now on how their life is in the present moment.
Hmm.
And I went into details about the death of my best friend, the death of my grandmother. I went into details about the profession that I wanted to engage in, the career that I want, but I didn't get. And I had to define and redefine myself. That growing up, I had to make decisions and quickly so that I don't regret later in life. And it was exactly that. It was actually the session with, I considered what Austin did to me was an indirect psychotherapy session, just because it opened up the door to just vent. Something that I spoke about that I don't really vent much to people, just because I'm now the frontline provider and frontline therapist, as you will, for the masses of sufferings out there. And when I sat there, I realized that, yeah, I really don't have any regrets. And something I want everyone to reflect on, choices that, we're going to make forward. How intelligently are these choices? How scientific your choices are going to be, using the best available science in decision deep down inside, because you have to live with some of these choices. And amongst these choices was how I never stopped studying. No matter what I was going through, I never lost sight of education, and I prioritized education over entertainment. And there are pictures of me actually on the other iPad downstairs, which, like I said, I was out on the beach with my friends, and there's this humongous textbook on the sand, and I'm just flipping pages, and someone snapped a picture, and I was holding the pen and I was smiling, while everyone is in the water, swimming on a summer day. Uh, so we beat ourselves up for choices that we make. And this year, we need to make better choices, newer, better choices, forgiving ourselves and asking for forgiveness, really forgiving that. And along the way, I did make horrific mistakes in my life. And I realized as I tell Austin, and there's no reason to lie to Austin, that these were the causes and the conditions that presented itself in my life. And I made the best decision I knew how in those moments. There's nothing more I could have done with the resources available to me, with the people that I was with, and the time that I had. And one of the most intimate conversation was with my grandmother, and I said, Austin, I spent, Austin is oh, I should not reveal certain things. Certain things people don't want me to say publicly. When it when it came, we're in our 30s. I am 35. I'm nearing, middle of that 40, but there are certain things that men go through at this age in regards to the worries of their families. And as we reflected on my grandmother, I said to Austin, I said, yeah, Austin, she was 70, going on 80. And I was just in my 20s. I was just really trying to take care of her and balance my life. And every chance she got to the doctor's office, I went to the beach with her, let her see some ocean. And yeah, I realized she had a lonely life trying to adjust to American life. And what more could I have done? I couldn't quit my job. I couldn't tend to her. I just trying to figure myself out. I was trying to form my identity. But it is what it is, and it can be what it ain't. It's over. And I did the best I possibly could for her in America, something that we grandsons and sons and daughters always look back and we ask ourselves, like, did we do the best we did we? Did we? And what I teach is the good life, living the good life and how to make these type of decisions so that later you look back, you were like, I used the Buddhist method to make my decision. And because of that, there's no way I could have blamed myself, especially under the guidance of a good, qualifying, authentic, experienced teacher. Everyone has a long life ahead of them. And again, it's something that people really need to really sit there. And I'm saying all of this is because I am predicting the foreseeable downfall of certain students who still hanging on to their ego. And it's something that I'll credit Sudi Burnett that I give frequent talks with, where she talks about the ego mind. I tend to steer away from the word ego because it hits really deep. Because I'm calling it out. I'm calling out the ego. When I look at a student in the face and I says, your ego is playing games on you. And the more I call it out, the more the student feel exposed. And I don't want them to feel a certain way. Again, some of them are very sensitive. And the teacher has to always calibrate and adjust to make sure that he's not leaning in. Now, this particular last week, I really wanted to tame a student's ego because I saw right through it. I can see it, and I'm seeing the student trying to hold a double life. The student was trying to hold this side of him that I want to learn CBT, I want to learn Buddhism, but there's this other side of me that wants to wow it out. It is the true nature of the student. And I know that I'm battling directly with the Mara in his head and not him, and not him. I came very close into deploying unethical methods to destroy and humiliate the ego. And I backed off and I said, don't. You're not in the CIA. Do not deploy CIA methods to crush the ego. Ethics in psychology. I won't speak too much about CIA methods, but they just have very unique methods, we would say, that only military officers and intelligence understand why these methods actually work when breaking down the ego of the enemy. Of the enemy. And what did the Buddha say? The Buddha said that when you win the battle with yourself, you will be the noblest victor of all. 1,000 battles, 1,000 times. But the one battle with yourself, you need to win. And I realized that I should just back off and let it unfold the way that it's gonna unfold, and they'll find their way back to you. You need not to jump in there and do unethical stuff. To It's not necessary, not at this time, and there is no immediacy. There is no danger to deploy such emergency techniques. The only time that should be done if it was trying to save one's life. And that's why, and that's how I was able to identify that I got a little too close and a little too attached to my students with the S. And I just wanted to disclose that publicly just because it's going to be in a book that I will write, The Art of Buddhist Psychotherapy. And this is why no monk do it, just because it's a headache. It's a headache and a heartache. And one has to be supremely skilled. And even I'm catching all of this. Even, and I thought, well, somewhere down the line, maybe I have overestimated myself with the younger generations that I think I can tame them. But they have become so smart and elusive, even to the best of the best. Elusive. And they have their egos have such unique ways to hide from me that one way to measure was the GoPros. Mm. Was I sit and I put the GoPro there, just like this right here, just like these cameras right here, directly, and it's spinning, and it's and I'm seeing things, and I'm hearing things, and I'm taking notes as I'm hearing things, but there are certain things that I cannot see. Yeah, and then you have to go back to it and see what was their behavior, their words and their behavior, how incongruent it is. And that's how you get the truth. Like I've said before, if their lips are moving, they're lying to you. You have to see their actions to congruent with their words in order to get the truth, but consistency. And so I don't want, again, this just shows how human I am. And, just, I don't want people to think that I am the best that the world has ever seen. It is the best it's ever going to get. And Sudi and I work together, and so many times she says it over and over again. And I also missed that the ego mind, the higher self, the higher conscious self. And I realized in my younger days that I used my intelligence to override my ego self, and I didn't even know it was happening. Then it leads to, why do we listen to the chant of metta? And so 2 days ago, we sat, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, it was live on YouTube, the guided meditation. It was one of the most profound, because I have Stephen and I have Austin. And sometimes people can't see everybody in the picture or whoever is present, but before I hit my live, it's very important. I don't hit live for no reason. It's a rare thing. I do it for fun. It's a rare thing. It's because it's a waste of time to do it for fun. It has to be meaningful and purposeful for the whole world to learn, to capture a moment of what's going on here in the Venerable's life, and how is he fixing these people. Now with direct knowledge of his stress, direct knowledge of his stress, direct knowledge of whoever's present and their stress, I held the microphone and I just guided. And just the way how I was guiding it was aiming to literally, and I told him this yesterday, I'm not sure which live, but I said, Austin, do you realize that I don't have a lot of time with you? You're leaving next Wednesday. I don't have a lot of time with any of you right now. There's a lot going on in my life. So, but I didn't tell you all that. What I was trying to do was capture your mind and arrest your mind and lead it into nirvana. It's no different than a police officer detaining someone and saying, let's go in the squad car. We're not we're not doing this right now. Whatever argument that is transfolding or transpiring, the cop is just like, I've made up my choice. Kick, kick, click, click. Let's go. And you just, let's go. Save it for the judge. Let's go. Right? So what I did, and I replicated, was you just got a small sample of it. But the fact that we were in front of the ocean, the fact that we were directly in front of the ocean, where it's like, whoa, how you're not gonna miss this moment. We're gonna use this. Then I started to like, how am I gonna put this? And don't call me out, y'all. But I was harnessing the power of the ocean. I was literally doing this. Like I was like, you ever watched like Dragon Ball Z? I started as I got into. I only had 30 minutes with them too. So as I sat down, I was like, harness the power of the ocean. It was like me and the ocean having a conversation together, and I was like doing supernatural powers with the ocean, and I was like harnessing the power, literally like all of the power, literally if you analyze the power of the ocean, the power to crush, the power to give life, the power to deliver you into the horizons. And I was literally harnessing it just by the view of it, and I brought everyone's attention to it. Harnessing it just by the view of it, and I brought everyone's attention to it. And I said, bring your attention to the waves. And like literally, I was arresting their mind to just laser beam on the waves and to analyze it. Then I gave I said, um, focus on the waves. Do you not see that life, there will be waves, there will be ups, there will be downs? And what we do here today is I'm going to teach you how to dive down deep so that you know what peace is actually like down there. And just once you know how to dive, how to get down there and stay down there for a minute and just look up and you see how silly things are. Then I went into guided meditation and, like 3 deep breaths, and then the music was going, and then I first led them into the mindfulness of the breath, focusing on the rising and then falling. And then I went into loving kindness, the same way I did to you earlier. And then, but intermittent, I was like, to take 2 deep breaths, straighten your back, posture, mindfulness of loving kindness again. And by the time you knew it, it went by 30 minutes. But in my mind, it was like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Then the most profound thing, which I captured, and I was like, "So how was your experience, Austin?" Um, and Austin was like, "Oh my God, if they should make it a law that mandates meditation." Then the past 2 days, he's been reflecting on that, and he said he said he felt literally his brain and everything cracking in there. It broke down and it started to rejuvenate and revitalize. The same feeling I've been over and over again. And if you analyze the beach meditations I did previously, you realize that 10 years younger, because of cellular changes, because the harnessing of the causes and conditions, and just really knowing how to do just calm, still, be like the ocean. You basically chameleon, assimilating and just becoming water. Pretty much, when I'm out there meditating, I just like literally just melt, kind of like the Terminator. The guy that like melts.
Yeah.
Basically, not no identification with the ego. No, I'm not the venerable. I'm not. I'm not any. I don't know Jack. I'm not Jack, and I don't know Jack. And I just melt, and literally you could just pretend like I'm just like water seeping underneath my robes and into the water with the ocean, and I'm now one connected with the ocean in those moments. And it's no wonder some people look at that and they're like, "Oh my God, you can feel it that I'm literally in nirvana with the ocean just for a moment. It's not permanent." But yeah, there are glimpses. That's why I'm so veered towards that. It's too bad that I've been so busy to have not tend to myself. So anyway, Austin was like his account and Steven's account like day and night, because Steven, his ego was battling with him. And I was like, oh boy. Oh, geez. So, moving forward, moving forward, I have decided that if I ever take on more students next year, Austin and Michael from Michigan, who we all of us grew up together. However, Michael doesn't know Austin, Austin doesn't know Michael, but they both have been deemed to me good judges to sit on the panel when we're trying to tame these Gen Zoomers. What it means is along the process and progress that they have to face us just like how you're facing me. I call it the Buddhist tribunal.
Hmm.
And the two judges will analyze their life, analyze their progress, and they will basically dissent or accent their opinion. And it is very well weighted, um, profound, impactful statements. And those statements to be issued in the right time, in the right place, for the right individual, well calibrated, could make a lot of impact aimed at taming their ego. Because for certain students, they were exposed to a lot of stories, a lot of people of change. I've just never seen an ego that darn thick, that darn thick. So therefore, I have to come up with additional programs and additional personnel to sit. And I just want the student to pretend like we're judges. We're Buddhist judges. We are compassionate. We're caring. We're kind. But we're going to tell you how it is. And just pretend like, just pretend like we're arahants right now telling you this. Grumpy arahants, by the way. you know, you know what I mean? What makes Austin qualified to be one, and what makes Michael qualifies to be one, is because they have tasted suffering, literally tasted every aspect of suffering, and have hit rock bottom, and have rebuilt themselves up. And that's what makes judges the Buddhist tribunal unique, was because they can see through the student, inside of the student, and through the student to give the weighted sentence. Not like you're going to go to hell type sentence, but like literally words of a sentence or a paragraph, you know, and for them to really reflect. And I think that would be good for the generation, because the new generation nowadays, they're so smart, and because of that intelligence, it leads them to hell, just direct path, like a slide with water to hell. That's how fast it is. That's how their intelligence is not serving them. And the criminal justice system knows that. That's why they build a bigger jail. Is that these kids are going to come out of high school and they're going to be dumber than a box of rocks. So let's jam them with more entertainment on their phone, make them dumb even more. They can't be creative, and let's draw them away from Buddhism. And then they're just going to slide right through the tunnel to prison. Waste of talent. I can't tell you how many waste of talents I've visited in the jail. And now when they get out there, it'll be felony convictions. So any question about the ego?
No, I've studied pretty intently on my ego gets the best of me from time to time. Find myself thinking every now and then creeps in and gets to me, and I'm like a lion in with the chair and the whip.
Mm.
Get back, get back.
Quite frankly, it is not. Oh, just TikTok. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. Quite frankly, it comes back to the word renunciation.
Yeah.
It comes back to, why are you hanging on to this ego? It's not serving you. And then I went really deep with the student, and I started doing experiments with the student. And I says, you hear this? Your ego's battling with me right now. Right now, it's telling you not to trust me, not to trust the process, not to trust CBT. It's battling it right now. And the student was like, and you can tell that this is his heart, and the ego is on the side here, the devil in his ear.
Yeah.
You can see it. It was unfolding, and I can see the devil.
I,
Yes. excuse me.
Turn
New
into
Year.
turn intellectual understanding into something that you know in your gut to be true. It's something that I wrote down actually just yesterday, which is insight, and it talks about understanding and I know the ego's there. I know it's battling. I know it's causing me distrust, discomfort, anger, frustration, sadness, whatever it might be. And I know that, but do I want to feed it or do I want to keep, like, feeding, grow it or not? And we don't want to grow it, but the ego wants to grow. And then the ego gets the best of us, so then we do feed into it, and we get stuck in these cycles. So it's interesting what you just said is literally you do this every single week. Just always say things that I just like write down or read or something along those same lines. Like every week, every single week.
Hits the spot.
No.
Always. On point. And let me tell you something. My ego also interjected in the middle of it, the ego, the venerable. And my ego tried to seep into the venerable's life and try to take control so that this ego can tame that ego in the student. And that's when I realized I'm like, oh no, the hell, you are not going to do that. That is unethical. We're not going to deploy certain techniques that you knew. And I had to take this hand and shove my own ego, and I was like, you are not. and and then I lost hope, and I said, oh my God, I was like, please help me find the strength to find myself again, because it was like a tornado trying to help these students. And again, and I pled it to the world with Austin, and I said, I am just now one man. I decided not to reach out to supervising therapists to consult them. I just wanted to see if I can handle it on my own, due to just the lack of resources that I need to peer-to-peer consult. But Austin acted when he was here, as he's here, he's acting as the supervising therapist without me even knowing, because he's just sitting back and watching all of this. And I get up and I go to the restroom, and Austin's like, "Did you know that this is what this student did when you were gone?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, insightful, thank you." But
What is it? Ram Dass said, "Conduct yourself as if your guru is always watching you." I think you've said that too.
And like I've said, I've always operated as if Ajahn Chah is sitting next to me, watching me. The dude's been dead since 95.
Right. Yeah.
But and that's how I tame my ego, is when tame whatever devil that wants to come in and get too personal with these students that I'm leading. And I have to say, what would Ajahn Chah want me to do right now? And you know what I mean? And literally, I'm just like, there are so many Mara attacks that comes in. You're venerable, you're not good enough, you're not skilled enough, you should just give up, you should retire, you should resign. You tend to retire every 8 years. And I have, and I'm going on my 8th year, and I see that I'm losing grip. Nobody donates to Buddhism. I don't have resources. I'm not reaching out to supervisory therapists. I'm losing grip. Uh, Graduation rates and stuff like that. Literally, Mara was attacking me in full force. And I vented to Austin, and literally I spent hours underneath this tree at like 12 at night. Thank God Austin is a male and not a female. Because if he was a female, oh, that would have just broke half of the Vinaya.
Oh, really?
Half of the 227 rules for monk. But no one would ever understand this is my best friend. So he's a male, two males underneath a tree doing psychotherapy on each other. You know what I mean? But it's just hours long for me to process everything, hours long. I was like basically just dumping it onto Austin. And Austin was trying to redirect me, or help me redirect me, and get through past some of the most daunting attacks of Maras. It's no different than before the Buddha achieved enlightenment, that he sat for 49 days and Mara appeared. Just that's why you see all the snakes and all of the things attacking the Buddha.
Snakes and women and everything.
And I felt that. And from now on, I'm going to say that. And from now on, I'm going to disclose that to the public. I'm going to be like, yeah, you know what? I had those moments where Maras came at me. I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm this great monk and these things don't happen. And as long as I'm this human skin, I'm going to exempt. Hell no. That's not the true me. It's not it. That's not it. This is what's unfolding and what is to unfold in the future. And it's no wonder, right? And you know what? And Christmas, I took the CBT book. I ran up the mall and gave the CBT book to my student. And I was like, damn. I was like, this. I had to take Steven's book to give to a student because I was out of books.
Mhm.
So while I was at the mall, I'm like, you should just make a TikTok and make something impactful here so that you get some more books going. So I go to the mall and make a TikTok about I need more books. I'm not asking for money. I'm just I need more books. CBT book, $6 a book. $6, life saving book. I make the video. I publish it. I even pinned it. I pinned it on Instagram. 41,000 followers. Nobody across all. No, and I knew that, and I knew that. I went home that night, and I'm like, no one's gonna send you books because that's the nature of America. They don't give. They take more and give less. So I go and I ordered, but as I was ordering like 7 or 8 more books myself, I came across some. They're all used, by the way. I can't afford new. Somewhere down the line, thrift books underneath CBT, there were psychiatric and psychotherapy, really cool books for practitioners. It was like a checklist, or it was like treatment plan, therapeutic treatment plans for adolescent, treatment plans for the adult. And again, they were also $6. So I grabbed both of them so that I can improve me to tackle what the challenges ahead of 2023. But it is, again, practicing law, practicing medicine, and practicing psychotherapy is just that. We'll never get it right. It is a constant refining, defining, defining, refining, and redefining. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Define, redefine, and refining, kind of like sharpening the knife, so that we use the best available science. But I can tell that it started to. You're intimate with me now, and I started to see that it started to affect my sleep patterns too. Thus, my health, and my health is my body's sensitive to stress. How, I don't know, but it's sometimes it is. Sometimes it goes into the unconscious and subconscious. But I just know anyone who's measured me 2018, 19, 20 know that I was in the ER for a long time. But it is, it's like if you put all of the pieces of the puzzle together, you realize that no crap, he's a young 30-year-old monk that's stepping into the howling wind of millions of people, serving them and using, he's doing psychotherapy on thousands of people. It's no wonder it takes a toll on his body, and he's in the ER. And as he's in the ER with an IV for 3 consecutive years, like $200,000 in medical bills, he's still teaching. He's in the ER. And I wanted to, and I did. I really contemplated my resignation. I really did. And I said, I'm gonna go. And these two laptops right here are really good at downloading the videos. And I was just gonna download them and then republished when I was in the hospital, so that people really understand what I'm going through, and just the foreseeable impact of this on the Venerable's health as he is alone in this journey. And I'm training other monastics, and I've ran out of resources to train them. And I said, and this is why I'm doing this. This is why all of this is recorded, because, and I'm like, one day it comes to the point where I'm not gonna, I don't know. Y'all just need to go back to this as your training. You go back to this and you analyze everything, every word that I have said about how I tame their ego, how their ego is gonna battle with you, and how all of this, so that they become me, or as closest to me, or whatever. Just become the next Sigmund Freud. You know what I mean? So the monastic order that I've been training, we've already exhausted we've already exhausted that, and now they're now on here with the general public to try to get insight now, you know. But yeah, but yeah. So then when I started talking about my health to myself and to Austin, I realized that hey, little guy, I told myself, I was like, hey, you're doing it again. It's the me, the my, the me, the my,
I.
me, my, I, right? Yeah, right. And I was like, you're starting. I was like, you're venerable. You're starting to fold inwards. You're starting to. It's all about you and your health now. You need to not do that. You got by the past 5 years publicly because you were thinking about other people and not yourself. You put everything aside. You even put your health aside. That's why you taught what when that IV was in you for 3 years. Was that because you thought about the suffering of other people and you never focused on the suffering of yourself? And that's why you were able to remain young, both internally, externally. So I had to like redirect my mind again, and then and then Austin was over last night, and then Austin's like, "What are you doing tomorrow morning?" And I said, "I'm gonna teach tomorrow like a champion." And something to look forward. I really, really, you have to create happiness. So what that means for the rest of the world who is watching is that as your new year, like what the hell were we doing last year? What the hell did we did wrong? What the hell did we do that we were so lazy, so miserable, so in despair, so trapped in our mind, so moved by the externals, worldly events of suicides, of violence, of shootings, of rapists, of whatever the hell going on in the world. Every year it seems like it's getting worse. But why were we so moved by that? Because we were moved by that propels us, reminds us of how we have not been practicing, that we have been chasing after the highs in life, and now we're experiencing the lows because we didn't take the time to study Buddhism. And I was so last night I started while waiting for Austin to come over. Um, some students also came by and they were getting ready to go out, and they came dressed, ready to partake. That's how comfortable they are with me. And I was like, "Oh, y'all off the chain, huh?" And these two girls came, and I was like, I'm me, right? And I'm me when males and female students come. I crack jokes and I let them know. And I'm like, Prisha, you see Thandar? You see what's going on here with all this dress right here? That thing up in that dress, that leg sticking out right there. Them boys gonna have a hard time tonight. They all giggled and laughed. Then they asked me, they're like, Venerable, would you like to go out with us? And I was like, what does this mean? Every night I'm here at 6 o'clock. What makes you think New Year I can actually go out at night with y'all, no matter if it's a big group or not, with male and females? So I just got a good laugh at it because they're young, they don't think. And
Do you think? So you think that they're just not aware?
they're so excited for the holidays
Yeah.
that there is no mindfulness on the holidays with students.
Yeah.
There's no mindfulness with the Gen Millennials and Gen Zs. It's just me watching them. I give this venerable father look, and they know it. And the other night, the one of the gal was like, "When I am this, you are not moved. When I am sad, you are not moved. When I'm excited, you are not moved. When I am happy, you are not moved. You are who you are, venerable." And I was like, "That's exactly right. I'm not moved when you're happy or sad, in sorrow, pain, or suffering, because that's the job of the monk." And because I'm trying to tame their ego, I'm trying to tame their subconscious with just my eyes alone,
Right.
and not to express. There's like this funny side of me that I express sometimes, and then this other side of me when we all of a sudden we'll have fun, and then all of a sudden we engage directly into psychotherapy, and I look at them and I'll listen and I'll give my advice, and then they will jump around the room. It's amazing that their energy can really infect you, like the contagiousness of it, and and the monk is to remain as a rock and then just watch their behavior and watch the mara that's in their head. So last night I literally was pacing back and forth, and I was just like, hmm. Okay, well, y'all have fun. And I decided to make some of those videos about uh, loneliness over the because I wasn't they were trying to get me to they were trying to bring the mara out, so they were trying to compel me to go out. by trying to paint this picture that aren't you lonely? Everyone else is out there, and you're just this monk, and just they try you. And I was just like, no, 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 let them. They're young, just let them. And I said, it's just another day. And then so then they're still doing makeup. And I was just like in their purse, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then I took out my phone and I did the TikTok. And I spoke about, this is another day to us. And within hours, it just blew up because I knew around the world that people were feeling the same way, and I wanted them to have the same mentality as I have right now. In like the probably the longest 4 or 5 hours of the New Year's Eve, when you were really lonely,
Yeah.
lonely, alone, suicidal, and you beat yourself up. And I just have so much things to do in the room that I didn't. Austin was checking in. Austin was like, "Are you still up?" And I'm like, "Yes." And my back hurted, so I lie down, and I totally missed the ball drop, just because I was again. It was just another day, and then by the time I realized 12:09, I was like, "Oh, it's New Year. Well, Happy New Year, 12."
I was
All
in bed at like 10 o'clock. And I woke up at like 3:45 and I saw you text me. I was like, I don't think I should text him back at this time.
Oh, yeah, I did. I didn't go to sleep till like 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Um, I was Austin's partner texted him. I don't know, they were got something going on, and I was like, y'all not communicating. Y'all need to figure that out. And I'm gonna catch some rest now because I have no energy anymore. I have to teach tomorrow. So it all worked out. The timing, it all worked out. But there was just such a hoot. All of my students are such a hoot. There are some that I would never be able to tame. I just know it. There are some that just needs more time. They just haven't hit rock bottom yet. So I just kind of just laugh with them. I'm the good friend. What the Buddha reminded us. Sometimes don't be too strict, and don't be like the bamboo. Just waddle and just be there. And they'll when the right time comes, they will know. But the monk's job is to be there and to make himself available to open the opportunity for them to change when they're ready to change,
Yeah.
and not to sit there and always crack the whip at every second that they do and everything that they're doing. And even when they try the teacher directly, let it go. It's, again, Ajahn Chah also said, if whatever troubles you as the teacher or student, that is teaching you something.
Yes.
So I just learned to just let certain things roll right off my sleeve, just laugh and just giggle about it. And then I just go move on to my other projects. I don't really sit there and attach, and I'm like, did they just really ask me to go out? Oh. And these girls are from Myanmar, one of like the highest faith in Buddhism.
Oh.
And one of them chant every single day. But she was watching her sister ask me if I wanted to go out, and it was always just like, this must be a joke.
What test?
Oh,
I feel like sometimes like there was just strange circumstances and situations literally to test us.
yes. Let's circle back around the renunciation part. See, when we get too exhausted with the ego mind, like I did, and damn it, no matter how many stories I share, I hope one day it just hits people in the head that when I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of myself, I gave up. That's what renunciation means, to give up. Surrender, right? Just like in AA. That's one of the principles in AA. The 12 step is to surrender. Damn it. Surrender. And the ego does not want to surrender. The ego does not want to surrender. The ego wants to fight, and that's why we have the stresses on our face and in our hearts. And it it poses such a challenge that even that the student's intelligence was not able to see my capacity, everything about me to override their ego. But somewhere down the line, I hope that people find it just when you just give up and put your trust into something that does work for thousands. I mean, that's why people go to therapists because they've given up. They're like, I can't do this anymore. I, I need to reach out for help, and they reach out for help. you know. And one of the student, I said, "You look like hell." Well, the student was so slick because I gave some of the group of student, I gave a few hallway passes to go party. Go ahead, what do you think? Comes back and they look like hell, but it wasn't from the partying. It wasn't from the partying, and I knew. It took me a minute. The student blamed it on the partying. The student was like, "I'm still trying to catch up on my sleep because I partied last week." But on the Tuesday, they looked like complete hell. But it was the psychological hell that they were hiding from me. Um, yeah, and and hopefully when I say this, that they see it and they see that they're battling with the ego self, and because they're hanging on to the ego self, it in turn makes them look like complete hell. And just give up, dude. Just give up. And it's so comforting to give up. And I had to give up just a couple of days ago. Give up what? Give up arguing with my own ego and returning back to the dhamma. And I said, go back to meditating with the Jidao. How do you not know? And what I neglected to tell you was why the chant of metta was because we're so hard on ourselves that the chant and the music of chant of metta, it just come back to yourself. Come back to yourself. Calm your heart. Calm your heart. Lift up to the Lord and calm your heart. And as I reflected again on the story of my grandmother, that thing was that when I went away, so you see the tattoo that's here, right? When I broke up with Christina, my dad says, "You are losing your mind." He said, "You are losing your shit." I'm gonna buy you a ticket to Vietnam, and I went to Vietnam for 8 months. And for 8 months, I beat myself up every single day. I was on vacation. He gave me all the money I wanted. I had no worries. All the basic needs were met. For 8 months, I beat myself up. And the one thing that kept me alive was the chant of metta.
Mm.
And every night I just played it in my ears because I knew that it was medicine. It was medicinal. It was medicinal benefits. And I just basically repeated everything that the music was going. I didn't even understood the Pali. And I was just, may I be happy, may I be free from mental suffering. But as you repeat that in your head, may I be free from mental suffering, you start to destroy the ego. You start to really convince the ego that I don't want to battle with you anymore. And I'm going to focus back on to me now. It's not about you anymore. It's about taking care of me. I have to do this for myself. And I'm gaining the momentum. Buying through the practice, I'm gaining the momentum. I'm forging the hammer to demolish the ego. And this is where I realized some celebrities commit suicide because when you have all the money and everything, all your basic needs are met. There's no higher self, no self actualization, no enlightenment. Life sucks, and they commit suicide because there's nothing to look forward to, no meaning, no purpose. Citing celebrity suicides. I'm not going to throw out any names, but we've had a number of suicides, and I felt that. Like I was like, I need to go back. I need challenges in my life. I'm here. I'm partying. I have money. I'm, I'm buying motorcycles. And like I think playtime's over. Again, the intelligence overrides above all. The higher self overrides the laziness. Thank God for this intelligence. God, really. Um, and coming back and wanting to face the world again, and and now that and the other thing I wanted to talk about was certain challenges in your life and how you suffer in those challenges is a good mixture. It is necessary and good mixture in order to sustain a good life, you need challenges. And I know some students under my guidance and who are watching right now feel like this is the struggle and the struggle is real. The way how you look at the struggle, the way how you look at the damn struggle.
Yes.
Right? If you said that you're in this predicament and it is the worst thing ever and you'd rather be dead than alive, then you will take your life. But I don't see that. I don't see that. And that's what I help them to see is that you see this struggle for money. Do you see this struggle for validation, for love and stuff like that? You need this. It's teaching you something. Without this, you would be even more suicidal.
That was a question that one of my teachers had asked the class back in high school. We read the book, I mentioned it but last week, Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's kind of like a dystopian, it's about a dystopian society that everybody's just happy all the time. And just because they take a medicine, she had asked the question, if you could take a medicine and be at like on a scale of 1 to 10, be like at a 7 or 8 happiness all the time, would you rather do that, never knowing sadness, knowing that you can experience a 1 or a 0, but also experience a 10 out of 10 on the happiness scale, the sadness scale? And a lot of the people said 7 or 8. And I was like, no, I would, and I was on medication that made me feel that way. I'm like, no, if we don't know what it's like to be down, we'll never know what it's like to be high, like up, not high, but to be up, to understand that we need that struggle, that suffering, that unfortunately, that loneliness, that heartache, that depression at certain points, so it can wake us up to say, enough's enough. I know what that's like, and now I know what I can achieve. I know I can get to. I know I can be happy. I know I can be free of suffering. I know that this is possible, and I see it.
The this past week, the highs and lows of literally walking with me, being with me. You know, we had so much laughter in the car, and then I get this phone call, and it says, "Venerable, we have an attempted murder case, and we need you." And I'm sitting in the car, and I was like, everyone hold. And when my phone rings, like there's complete dead silence when my phone rings, especially my primary ring. Everyone knows when the phone call, the one phone that goes off, everyone's just like, and they start to look at all the lines on my face and see how the lines on my face move. And we're having fun, and all of a sudden this attempted murder case comes in, and I was like, "Yep." And everyone was laughing, and then they're just trying to figure like what's happening here. Like we were all just having a good time, and all of a sudden it just went south really bad. And I'm like, "What went south? I'm not the one being killed. I'm not the one that I'm not the drama here. They asked me to play a role in this, in assisting in this." And I was like, yeah, but there was this high and these lows. And then there were moments that we were eating lunch, and all of a sudden I asked another student who graduated the program to come in to talk to a student who was struggling. And that was like, that was a twist because they were like, whoa, whoa, Ty's here. Why is Ty here? Like, Ty, have a seat. Ty didn't even know why he was there. I gave him just a little information, and I said, Ty, when you were with me for years, what you've learned, what you went through, and how you dealt with it, and how you're dealing with it today, I want you to inspire this wonderful student. I think it will be helpful. Because I'm measuring the ego, and New Year's coming up, so I gave Ty a red envelope, the same red envelope you see up on the counter there. The red envelope is a money gift, but it's our thing. It's the Chinese New Year thing where they put money in the red envelope. And this is why, for the program, when I said I need resources, it was just that sometimes you have to time it just right to bring in certain students and compensate them for that. Because Ty was working, and I asked them to get off work early to come down for the right timing of this lunchtime right here, because I'm watching the heartbeat of the circumstances. I'm watching the heartbeat of what's happening unfolding, and the time to interject is now. And so I'm coordinating with Tai. Tai walks in with paint still on him, and and I said, "Go ahead, do your thing," because the teacher doing this all the time sometimes render ineffectiveness. They need to hear from other people suffering and the methods of how they got out of it, to see if the ego, how resistant the ego is, in order for me to see that, to measure that, and attack it in a different manner. I'm glad I don't have any biological kids, because I am literally supervising them, counseling them, guiding them as if they were my biological kids. Because um, hell, I'm so glad I do not have kids. And you know what? For those who have kids, they won't stand a chance. Without the teachings of the Buddha, they don't stand a chance about what's unfolding in the millennial ahead, the millennium ahead, the 2023 till 2080. They won't stand a chance. So from now on, I think that's what I'm going to be doing, is the chant of metta will always occupy the meditation, and it will always be the tracking the breath, and then we jump into loving kindness, and then we'll incorporate insight meditation, of which I'm waiting for you guys to finish CBT to jump, and I want um, Julia to be here for the beginning of the insight. But mindfulness of the body, that you need to get down, which is constant awareness of posture, constant awareness of breathing, sensation, anything that is physical sensation, that has to be mastered. And into the right into the details in the paragraph of the mindfulness of the body. And there are things within the foundations that need to be omitted, um, just because not on there, but
Right.
when it comes to body image, or the death part of it, because it can get really morbid. One thing about vipassana is that there are certain sections in there that are like the teaching was designed to penetrate the heart, it, and to destroy the ego, literally demolish the ego and the attachment to one's body. So when you read some of these paragraphs in mindfulness of the body, Gaya Nupassana, you, your ego might come back and use that to feed itself and to lead you astray, just with that alone. So that's why you need a very good teacher to explain why these were the instructions of the Buddha and what it means for us, and how do we use it and not misconstrue it and misinterpret it. Because a lot of monks have, in fact, committed suicide, uh, because they have misconstrued, misinterpreted, and took it the wrong way. Take this off, just hang there. We know this. Senior teachers, we know this. So therefore, and there are people who also, gone into certain retreats, and the retreats did not screen them properly to see if they were appropriate for insight meditation. And I think that's why certain teachers teach it differently and not go too much into details, and it just teaches them what they need to know. One of those teachers is Bhikkhu Yutatamo, who's now visiting his mom. I have his mom on Facebook, and Austin got to meet him 2 years ago. Um, and when he teaches Vipassana meditation, doesn't really explain much deep into it. Like, well, I don't remember hearing him going to the morbidity of the details, and he keeps it very, just a noting technique. He says, "Look, when you sit, and if there's a thought that arises, you start focusing on that thought and just repeat thought, thought, and just see the thought for what it is, the true nature of that thought. Don't analyze it, don't attach onto it. And slowly it will dissipate. And if you sit and you have back pain, you would start, you would just note the pain, 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 pain. And if you don't attach any meaning to that pain, which is, I can't believe this is my pain, if you don't personalize the pain, and if you just note it to see the true nature of it, and this is where some intelligence comes in, is that it is body's job to produce pain to let you know that, hey, you're sitting a little too long. Yeah, you can move your feet around a little bit. And when you can see the true nature of the body, reality of the body, then you no longer, then you're like, oh, anything that happens within you, you realize that, oh, I've been writing too long. That's why my wrist hurts. And you wouldn't say, I cannot believe this wrist cannot go any further. You would expectations on the body, unrealistic on expectations. Any questions so far?
The mindfulness, contemplating the feeling, mindfulness on the pain, just talking about physical and emotional, worldly and spiritual. That I'm in a lot of pain all the time, and I stopped attaching to it. I have to adjust or something like that. But I realized that, as you said, it's the job of the body to let you know when you're in pain. It's very true. If we weren't in pain, I wouldn't know that I'm on fire. It's drastic, but put your hand on the stove, you don't feel the pain, you're going to burn your hand, and it's going to cause an infection, and it's going to be bad. So we need pain to understand how far our bodies can go, but we can't attach to the feeling of the pain and be upset that we're in pain, because it's exactly what the body's supposed to do. Push ourselves to the limit comfortably, and you can eventually push that out farther and farther. But don't ignore it completely. Don't ignore it and don't attach to it. I'll tell you what, since I started understanding that, knowing the pain, I'm in less pain.
Yeah, it's of course, short wires. Well, yeah, it's amazing the clinical application of um, insight meditation, and that's another book to write too. The clinical application and benefits of insight meditation are for people who are struggling with physical pain. Um, a lot of people don't learn Yuta Tammo's technique, and that's why I like it, because it's simple. It's simple. And matter of fact, this is why when because I don't teach Vipassana until the student has gotten far, 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 far down the road. This is because when you start being analytical with the four foundations, especially the fourth one, which is mindfulness of dhamma, mindfulness of world phenomenon, really relies on your knowledge of the true nature reality of the no mindfulness of dhamma nupassana is literally about phenomenon that unfolds, things that arises. Okay. So it actually goes back to the Four Noble Truths. It actually goes back to, desire and the root cause of things. It actually has a lot to do with paticca samuppada, dependent origination, when things come up. So one of the hardest thing too. And then citta, do you see it? Yeah. You see it on there? Yeah. Let me see your notes.
It starts with
yeah.
Number 4.
This is why we take notes. Yeah, that's that. Because when we let you guys do insight meditation on your own, some can really focus on just that one aspect of worldly phenomenon or the mindfulness of the mind. And it's like, oh crap, mindfulness of the mind. What is it about the mind that we need to be mindful of? And and that's when you revert back to desire. You look at the, the propulsion, the propelling force, the momentum of the desire part. So again, you are the ultimate referee of the mind. And the four foundations of mindfulness reminds you of the rules to be the referee of the mind. And as you go, through, you see, I remember it in Pali, Kaya, Chitta, Vedana, Dhamma. Yeah. So Kaya's body, Chitta's mind, Vedana is feelings. And then when it gets to feelings, that's like the most, I think one of the most hardest thing for anyone that's dealing with stuff or is sensitive to things is that there's three. When it comes to feelings, it is pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. How do you label things that has happened to you or is happening now, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And can you see the true nature, reality of that emotion? And then that ties back to CBT. You are the way how you think the way how you are, and then you have to dive into everything that you remember in CBT in order to make sense of Vedana, Vedana, oof, mindfulness of sensations, of feelings.
Right.
Mm. But I want to reserve this when Julia is here. Sometimes I'm not sure if she's watching or not, but it's better to address these in person. And you guys are wrapping up CBT, and before these Sunday sessions cease to further, um, I just want to. I'm going to try my best, and you guys prepare for questioning and being analytical. This is when we go into it. It's a good time to be really analytical and ask questions about it. And I think along this week, I'm going to start making comparisons across different teachers and different teachings to see where I can meet in the middle with you guys. It's because, yes, I have been practicing Vipassana for the past years consecutively. But when it comes to teaching it, I want to nail it. I don't want to be like, uh, um, because to me, it's not, it may be simple to others, teachers, but to me, it's not. I think I'll figure it out just because it's extensive.
Mhm.
So you don't have your CBT book here, 300 and something. That means you're at the end.
Yeah.
Is she also at the end?
She's a little behind me, but yeah, she's pretty close.
So I think next week when we review CBT, I'm going to just randomly open up certain chapters and just ask you questions, like I did to Stephen. And Stephen was like, and poor thing, his college curriculum causes him. His college curriculum causes him to, just the way how they study in college, um, really uh, obstruct the way how they remember. You know, so I just like to randomly open up certain chapters and just see what you can recall and recollect. And the word recollect has everything to do with mindfulness, meditation, and which is sati. This four foundation of mindfulness falls under the Mahasati Patana Sutta, and sati means the ability to recollect. And I just want to see how well you guys recollect CBT, as it is foundational for when you start going into insight. That way, and I'm not going to judge if people don't forget. That way, if you've fallen short of remembering certain basics, then you realize that you can go back to it, take additional notes, so that you become a good referee of the mind. And that means a good referee, meaning that he knows all of the rules to the game, and he knows when to blow the whistle and why he blew that whistle, and what violation is happening on the field. So you guys are the referee of your minds. The CBT teaches you the rules of the book of the mind, and then when I'm testing the referee, I'm opening up different chapters in different orders to see how well the referee remembers. And as a result of that, we make adjustments necessary as we propel towards insight meditation. And then then you have this bookshelf of CBT, just like the key important things in CBT to use when we move about And then you can make the connection between CBT and insight meditation. And then you can make the insight meditation. And then somewhere down the line you question, holy crap, had he not taught us CBT, how in God's world can we actually be mindful of the mind and be mindful of worldly phenomenon? We would be clueless. And quite frankly, I don't know how back in the day the Buddha got people to do insight meditation. Um, just because we've had become more complicated in the world. So therefore, you need CBT to help with the understanding of the complications that we have created in the world and in our minds, and evolutionary psychology that we have become smarter. But because we became smarter, we also became dumber.
Yes.
So therefore, it poses a challenge to study the timeless teachings, is because, yeah, you're smarter, but you're also dumber to grasp a teaching that's 2,566 years old. And you can't make sense of what's happening right now because you don't know what's going on. It's, thank God for the monastic, the Namo Sangha, the Sankhya, because if we not exist, all of you were left with a bunch of books and trying to scratch your head and just give up. More weed, more marijuana, more drinks, and y'all would just give up. Yeah. So yeah, I think I've been quite comprehensive in that. And before we practice insight, we have to understand the academic behind it in order to go into it. Where of which other teacher just go into it, and I just don't know. I just have another way of just doing it. So right now, let's take the next 10 more minutes to meditate. Yeah, to further our practice in mindfulness of the breath. Just because that's part of the mindfulness of the body is, and underneath that is mindfulness of the breath. So we have to really master that in order to move on. And as we're mindful of the breath, we're mindful of the posture and the concentration. So breath, posture, and concentration. At this time, you get into your meditation position and posture, back straight, shoulders relaxed. Relaxing all of the muscles on your face. Relaxing all of the muscles in your ears. All of the muscles on the forehead. With a small smile on your face, you realize we will be making progress to your well-being. Today we further our practice of mindfulness of our body by focusing on the breath. We're mindful of our body, mindfulness of the posture of this body as the spine gives us energy, alertness, awakeness, consciousness, vigilance to oversee everything that is happening in the body. The spine is the tower, the lighthouse, the stem to feed the mind energy necessary to have a watchful eye. We take our first 3 deep breaths. As we analyze our breath in details of the suttas, when we breathe long, we know we are breathing long. When breathing short, We discern that it is short. When the breath is shallow, we know that it is shallow. We notice the natural movement and pleasure of each breath. We also notice the suffering when either we inhale or we exhale in the breath. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, you know you're breathing out. Mindfulness of the posture, our back straight, we know it is straight. Mindfulness of the hands, where they rest. Mindfulness of the shoulders. Mindfulness of the neck. Mindfulness of the body, we are mindful of the temperature of the air in this room. Take two deep breaths. At this time, you can relax your concentration. Slowly arise from your meditation. Any obstructions as you were meditating?
Obstructions?
Yeah, any thoughts, anything that hinders your progress of being mindful of the body, breath, posture?
No. Just noticing pain in my knee and my leg and my back.
Yeah, you can take a chair too if you want. You don't. I don't like. I don't require anyone having to sit on the floor.
And notice. I notice these things, and it's good to notice them, not to be worried about them, to know that they're there, but to bring my attention back to my breath ultimately and find peace in those moments. So I feel the pain, but I'm not attaching to it. I still maintain my tranquility.
As we were meditating, I actually reflected on this, on what Austin said. Um, that was amazing to watch my best friend sit next to me, fully in the present moment. I guess because he has seen suffering in his life, and and he likes the ocean. He says, Wherever I go, I gotta be near the ocean," just like me. See, like attract likes, like attract likes, and the fact that I skillfully led him to there. The next question I need to ask him before I make such declaration was that at the time that you were practicing with me, that any one of those moments were you free from disturbing emotions, not thinking about the past or the future? And if he said yes in between that 20 minutes, then he has tasted Hans and the mentality of Buddhas looking at each other when they have tasted that peace. And though I need to gather some more information and data before I make draw conclusions out of it, what an amazing feeling, because I've never had a student told me what Austin have told me. And Austin is very brutally honest about just certain accounts. He's just very brutally honest. He would never get up from meditation just to tell me that, just to like you know just be like, yeah, 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 it was really good. Yeah, when you know um but to know. And this is funny because these two guys, Steven and Austin, who's been with me the most, amongst other students, is that they are after financial stability in their life. Question is, how do you get there? And how you get there determines the quality of peace that you have in your life. And I think one of the why Austin asked me, why did I become a monk? Why did I choose the monastic life? He's asked me that more than once. Clearly, he doesn't want me to be in the monastic order forever. He wants me to go out and sit at a bar with him or go to the club with him and back in our old 20s. And I think that somewhere down the line, we forget what that peace is like. And hopefully one day you get there. I'm not sure what he felt was what I needed to draw a conclusion, but if you keep this practice up, you will eventually real just whoa, that whoa moment. And then you ask yourself, I mean, I would never ask any of you to be a monastic. This is really hard to survive as a monastic. You all should continue working, be a productive member of society, and pay taxes. But really, the priority of peace, just the true meaning of that. And for example, Stephen, the fact that his ego is taking the best of him, and right now his mind is literally delusional about the future and the stability of the future. I did a stability thing. I took a moment of me talking to him, and I'm like, hold up, hold the thought, hit live real quick, so I can tell you about stability in life. Whereas there in life, it is everything but stable. And I mean, had Stevens in um, Orlando with his friends and family right now, but the question would be, you do realize once, I mean, like, what does peace mean to you? You realize you're going to get on this hamster wheel. And if you don't learn meditation and don't learn what we're doing here, you will never be at peace, no matter how much money you got in the bank. You will look like hell every year. You will look like hell and feel like hell.
I can relate to that. Never had a lot of money saved, but at one point earlier in my career where I worked at, I was able to get more money saved than I had ever had saved. And then as things changed, inflation, everything going up, my rent went up $800 over the course of 2 years, $700, something like that. So I started to feel a lot of stress, no stability, financial stability, just paying things late all the time and just really worried all the time. And then through meditation and letting things like that go, it is what it is. Like just do what I do and have enough. We have enough to keep a roof over our head, keep food on the table, to donate a little bit when where we can, and that's enough.
And truly, when I give get guided meditation, yeah, sometimes in the background some of the students will pop up in my head as I am guiding, reflecting, meditating, and even thinking of them. I mean, it's got to be a real skillful monk to be in the present moment, but also have some stuff in the background and just kind of laugh at it for a little bit. It's kind of have a TV on in the background as you're focusing, talking to somebody. And um, I frequently think about, because people ask me so many times, so often, like, when are you going to disrobe and go back to the working life and the everyday life? And I'm like I told you last time, just that peace is just so there's nothing out there for me to go back to the rat race to deal with people that can affect your peace, that compounds the hindrances, feeds the ego that you have to battle with when you get home. You meditate so that you can dissipate the ego that you fortify during the day. Holy cow, that's taxing. Well, I don't want to sit here and give reasons for y'all to ordain. That's, but even if you do ordain, you'd be rare. I mean, even if I said it to 100 people, only one would, maybe more like 1,000, and you get one. to give up everything and to realize that we are rich when we desire less. As long as all the basic necessities are met, you're golden, literally like a lottery ticket every day when your necessities met, like food and stuff like that. So, do you have plans today after the class?
No.
It's just another day.
Yes. May go to the park. I know Julia hasn't been feeling well, so she wanted to go to do try and do the slap line a little bit. So
Hmm.
that might be something else. Depends on the weather because couldn't see.
Yeah, what is this weather? Is it gonna rain or what's
I
going
have
on?
no idea. I don't think I grew up here, and I don't think I've ever seen fog as thick as it was.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I have actually. I've seen fog like this before. But where's my other charger?
That might be a thing.
Mm.
Wanted to take a day of just kind of like real rest and relaxation, do drawing, maybe painting, but not strictly adhere to something. But
Yeah.
whatever, whatever flows, flows.
When I was first ordained, and the following day, when I walked out in front of the monastery, and it was fog as thick as that. It was so thick you couldn't see the statue of the Buddha where I
Wow.
was standing. And you've been to the monastery, and I looked out and I was like, being the young dumb me, the young monk, I was like, oh my God, look, we've reached nirvana. Well, this is great. I just ordained, and next day it's nirvana. I don't think we have to sit and meditate anything else. We can just run around and enjoy the fog. In my head, it was one of the most peacefulest, most serene. It was like getting the cherry on top of the cake right away.
Yeah.
The fact that I was ordained by a very famous, they suspect he's an arahant. Um, and I got my wish because I had to maneuver around to get ordained by him. And then I got my wish. I mean, literally just sit there in front of His Holiness. And then just like I told you last week, I didn't realize how much of His Holiness is His Holiness when there's other His Holiness in Vietnam bowing to him. And then there's now historical pictures that reemerged during his training in Vietnam that he was senior and everybody else was younger than him. He even looked senior. And the fact that he's been a monk for God knows, like 60 years, 60, 70 years being a monk. Um, and that was shocking to see other prominent and influential monks hit the floor when they see him. And he's just, at 100 years old, he's just very alert. Like he's 20 years old again. To sit there and just humbly take these respects. And I realized that, oh, look, I was ordained by him. um, which I still keep secret this day. I don't want to release his name yet, just because there's political stuff in Vietnam. And, but yeah, I walked out and I looked around. That fog was thick. But that only hit me for a moment. Then I realized, damn, I gotta meditate. I gotta do all these things. We got lunch and blah, 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 and then all of that came back. But just that fog being there, I thought it was something magical about it.
That is.
Mhm.
There is something
It's
to it.
peaceful. It's really peaceful.
It's kind of like it blocks out all the distractions. Like it literally visually blocks out distractions. It was interesting. I walked out this morning, being the first of the year, 2023. Hadn't seen fog all, feels like all year.
Mm. So there's only 9% chance rain, 73 high. So the sun should be coming out. It's only 11, and it's kind of strange that it's still the way that it is. Um, but so let me see. I don't think I have anything else because I just want your minds to be light and not heavy when it comes to thinking about this. I think we did a good job overviewing the ego. That's something I wanted to touch up on. And because I've been neglecting myself meditating, I think I might just stay here and try to jam another hour of complete silent. No, not silent, but with music, of course, but just with meditation. Um, and then just, I wish Austin was here, so that I can program him even more and to see what other reports he has with the limited time that we have. So I might call him, see if he wanted to join me. Um, I'm just interested in what he has, his experience of it. If he experienced that for what it is, I wonder if it just shows you that his mind was ripened. It was just ready for guidance, and the existence of the ego was, it dropped. And it could be that we've been friends for so long that there was no need for any walls to come up. There was instant and complete trust for the guided meditation to take place and for him to just, yes, lead me. It's kind of like, holding out your hand and the teacher grabs your hand and he leads you, and you have full faith and confidence wherever he's leading you is going to be safe and not push you in the water.
Honestly, every time you've done a guided meditation, it's felt like that though.
Yeah, but what I mean is that the ego thing is that some people, I do guided meditation and they're still like this with the guided meditation because they're not sure what is he doing to my mind.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, what's he doing to my mind? And is this a cult? Is this a religion? What is this? Yeah, people still have those mentality. I know that. As a matter of fact, I've been invited to so many places. So as a monk, I'm actually trained to speak while looking at like, how many degrees? Is 45 degrees? I'm trained to look 45 degrees on the ground as I'm giving a dhamma talk, or to simply close my eyes and give a dhamma talk and not look at anybody directly in the face. But because I want to engage with the public by looking them in the face, I'm able to see how people literally judge me as I'm sitting there. I mean, you just see all because they don't know me. They don't know me. They don't. They're just, again, the misconception or the pre information before they met me. And of course, Buddhism don't exempt praise and blame. So all sorts of things goes in their mind. And then you have those that look at you and they're like, wow. Yeah. So it's funny. So that's what I mean by the ego. Everyone has colored lens, different lens and colored lens. Um,
Ego is tricky.
just and it really all depends on how intelligent the student is and how well they exercise that intelligence to override. One cannot say the Buddha was dumb because he wasn't, and the fact that he used his intelligence to override Mara, you know, and that's why like everyone hoorays when you go into the monastic order and they realize that you have some form of intelligence there, and they're like, okay, well, there's a chance here. I mean, when it comes to intelligence, it's like, do you get it? Do you understand? How do you let go? How fast can you let go? Just all the measurements of relational intelligence, social intelligence, emotional intelligence. Uh, so it's up to you if you want to stay. I may answer some questions that's on here, and you're welcome to stay. I just don't want to be respectful of the holidays and whatever. If Julia's waiting for you to come feed her some noodles, chicken noodle soup, you know. Um, but if you get a kick out of this and you want to stay, it's up to you. I have in my mind today, because Austin's with his parents, that I wanted to sit here with the people and cater to those who didn't have a very ideal or desirable new year, so then they can learn something new and inspire people to come forth the, the Dhamma. And then because the more I talk about it or teaches it, I mean, just the insight so far I have, I need to start actually recording into my book and just finish the darn book. um,
How far are you in your book?
Disappointingly, it's only at 45%. But that's the disappointing part. But the other profound part is that I'm gathering so much more evidence buying through these ego things for the chapters to come ahead, and the guided meditation and the reports from the guided meditation, like Austin's guided reports. That I'm able to twitch around my words of instructions to the book, which had I already published the book, or sent it to the publisher, I would have been lacking information and I had to go back and update. It would have been a little bit more disorganized. Quite frankly, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to write the book because we don't have a lot of time. But at the same time, I felt like even though you all judge me, adjudicated that I have tremendous amount of experience, but I'm also a perfectionist when it comes to writing. And I felt that, I've only had like 2 years of experience versus the many actual years of experience when writing the book. Because when you write a book, number one is you need a lot of words, and you need to find all of these evidences out there in your mind, and it just so happens to be a very political year as a celebrity monk, a lot of contacts and international relations and all of these, just relationships, establishment of relationships, and complications of agendas in between. That's why I don't, uh, you know, that's why there's obstructions in progress of the book, and and the battle within serving the people and prioritizing the book and not serve the people, do one or the other, and I try to just balance the two together. But I think at this time, even if they are watching, I think they really fully understand that these are life-saving programs, and that whatever evidence that I'm as they're reading through the first 45% of the book, they realize, whoa. I mean, I would hope to strike them as a whoa. It's either a whoa or we've seen this before. I doubt it. It's just I mean, just look at the quality of the teachings and the instructions. So I think what I postulate, because I'm afraid to reach out to them. I just don't. I don't need to add more stress onto my head. What I postulate is that the CEO is telling the editors, like, work with what we got, start cleaning this up. That means they're twitching, and because I know certain chapters are like all over the place. There's a girl in there that used to work for Lions Roar and the Tricycle magazine, like hardcore Buddhist practitioner magazines. So they know exactly the threefold training. They will reorganize the threefold training. I'm just throwing it. I'm literally all over the place.
Right.
It's not that all over the place. I mean, if you want, I can actually send it to your email to glance through it.
That would be cool.
For fun.
That would be awesome.
And then you realize, you just at some point you just realize, isn't that supposed to be under sila, or isn't that supposed to be under samadhi? Isn't that supposed to be under panya? So that's their job. The editor's job is to take what I have given and reorganize it a little bit, and of course grammar issues. But when you go there, you clearly see that. I mean, just because American Standard English is that you have to be like PhD with grammar.
Yeah.
I'm not PhD in grammar. I am, bachelor's level. It's like the rest of us. And then sometimes at bachelor's level, you write like you're in high school.
Yeah.
I don't really care. It's me. Whatever how I teach here is how the book is going to be. That's my tone.
Yeah.
That's how people get to know me.
It's interesting you say that because I have a couple of books that I have a lot of books. I like to read. I used to hate reading, but like you hear certain people talk, and then you read their books, and then you see how it's written, and you're like, oh, so they're writing it, how they speak, and you can almost hear your voice reading something, or hear like Bhikkhu Bodhi or Eckhart Tolle or Sadhguru or whomever it might be, Ram Dass or whatever. And I think it's really, maybe it's just me, but I think it's really cool because I notice there's different writing styles for everybody. Not everybody writes exactly the same. And when I used to read in my own head, like my own voice that I think I sound like. And now I don't.
Mm.
And I've noticed that as I read more, I can see it's written different, slightly different, depending on who's actually writing it.
Mm.
I think it's great.
There was this very intellectual, the happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. Not like Hate, but Haidt, like Haidt. He was a scholar, and there was a so he was talking about happiness and the science behind it. And somewhere down the line, he was like, when the Buddha done ran out and looked at all these sites, he assumed people were suffering, versus that he knows the existent, he internalized the existent. And I was just like, no, you did not just try the Buddha, because that was his tone, that was him, that was, you can tell the author's standpoint on things. And I pondered for a good minute because it was in the middle of my studies and in the middle of my 1 year silent retreat that I was going through this book. And again, it cast a doubt, which is one of the five hindrance in Buddhism. Actually, was doubting, like, did he really assume? Did he actually know? But he only, again, he didn't do it much justice. And his what he said opens up to a lot of controversies actually for Buddhist scholars to. But anyway, so I made my comparison and contrast, and I realized that, okay, the Buddha had done take like gazillion rebirths. Okay, so when he saw something, he knows. He didn't assume or guess. He didn't play fortune telling like CBT is teaching us. The man knew what he was seeing, the foresights. But because it was, yeah, because I was just young and dumb, and I was like, huh. And to see a PhD write certain things about Buddha, and I was like, huh, what's going on here again? Because I was merging, because half of it was Buddhist studies, and the other half was the psychology study of happiness, which is positive psychology. And so I started to target all of the most high profile um, scholars in America to write on happiness. I mean, you want to be the best, you have to study from the best, by the best. But yeah, I mean, I think that the book, it's going to be a masterpiece. And the other thing is that I wanted the book to be so structured and informative, and again, the instructiveness of the book is that people who are buying it, most of them are kind of lost. Not to say that everyone is lost, but you have to understand that they're suffering.
Yeah.
Lost as in they have no sense of direction, and the book needs to, number one, say, "Hi, I'm Venerable Chidao. This is my qualifications and background. Now stop. Trust me and trust the process, and it will work for you. I've inspired millions. Walk with me. Here are the steps." And then along the way, it's like, give them encouragement and, reminders. Technically, I really want the book to be like 400 pages, the way that I would want it done. But it is most likely going to be 250 pages. Shit. I mean, shoot, I would probably want the book to be like 1,000 pages, actually, like one of those guides, like that white guide book, which is, you know what I mean? But I mean, no one would ever read that either. They'll just be like, "Oh my God, he wrote the DSM-6 when the DSM-6 haven't even come out yet."
The History of World War II by Churchill.
I but I realized that, yeah, just shoot it out. But I know that the break that I need, I will be writing more, especially on the psychotherapy thing. I will write on the ego psychotherapy. Me and Austin actually sat, and I said, and I was like, Austin, here are the things that I can write about. And I actually made a whole list. Buddhism for, and then you put colon, police officers, lawyers, doctors, professionals, first responders, students, teachers. Literally, we have control over a body of knowledge that fixes the whole entire world.
Yeah.
So literally, I just said, I'm gonna Vietnam, and I'm just gonna probably buy the Dragon software and just. I mean, technically, if you go through all my YouTube, that's the book right there.
Yeah.
Now it's just this. So I figure out, I go, and then I'm just gonna rant and ramble like I have been for years, and then I let the editors just put it in order. Here's my take on it. Have at it, and then they just start publishing, and then hopefully, for the new generations, I know that other countries are gonna replicate in German and stuff like that to fix. Then that's what's so challenging this year is that. Oh, by the way, I've already passed my due date. I'm 2 months behind. going on my third. That's horrific because we want the book to be published by September, October of next year, and it could lead up to like December by now. So I got to really get it together. I mean, had I not have these projects. But what's also challenging about the book is that because I'm doing research at the same time in measuring these students to see if my method is actually working to identify their ego, we're talking about the damn mind and measuring the minds. The hardest thing to measure, the hardest thing to see, the hardest thing to conquer and win. I'm like, how the hell can you expect me to do this in like 10 months? The contract was like, you got to finish this in 10 or 11 months. What?
And the idea is to have a book that's going to appeal to everybody, as well as I imagine. I think the hallmark of a good book is somebody who wants to read it multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just faced with so many challenges along the way with very little help, very little assistance. I'm the one who digged that hole for myself of engaging in with the public and doing so many things at once. But I mean, I had full confidence I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, it only took me a week for the table of content. They're like, okay, they're like, you want to write a book? I'm like, yeah. You have a plan? No. Do you think you put a table of content together? Sure. It was like 4 days. So I'll send it to you
Yeah,
to your email,
that'd be awesome.
and then you tell me what you think,
Sure.
and you print it out and you circle it. So as you print it out, it is single spaced, and as single space on Word is 45 pages. Oh shoot, that means I need to write more. But if you double space it, then it would be. I don't know if you double. I just don't know. I mean, my word count was obviously wrong because when I copy and paste, it was like 30 or 40, 30,000, 30,000 word. But those are characters. I don't know. That's how miscalculated. And then Word Microsoft was like, it's only 18,900 or something. And I was like, oops. And I think the publisher wanted like at least 30,000 to 50,000 words. But I don't care. I just sit there and just ramble on to Siri because Siri's typing.
Yeah.
And I just go back to the paragraph. I'm like, what word is highlighted red? I mean, they have like 8 editors. That's what they're there for stuff.
It's probably also difficult to find
Yeah,
sources.
yeah, because like the difference between a researcher is they sit and they research, and then you have a practicing monk that he just practices, and then I'm doing everything. I'm conducting research, practicing, and then you ask me to write a book, which requires me to kind of sit, reflect. Um, it doesn't, can't, I can't, I haven't even, I don't do this anymore. The habit of writing, the actual art of actually holding a pen and paper, I have neglected my own journals for years. So now I'm adopting the technology to help me out, which is just to talk to Siri and Siri will type for you, and then you just go back and fix whatever needs to be fixed. Which is a little lazy, but that's why we have editors. Thank God for, and I didn't realize some books has like 15 editors on the board. I'm like, for what? Because I really thought the burden was on me, and I think, half of the deadline was me procrastinating because I'm like, it has to be perfect, perfection, perfection, perfection. You have to fix the everything. You have to have citations. I put everything all on me again. One man who does it all by himself, and I'm assuming there is help. And I mean, the book place, I think that they're really busy too, and they just kind of leave me alone because they think they know what I'm doing, but sometimes I don't know what I'm doing, and they're afraid to reach out and be pushy or push, you know what I mean, to like, hey, you know what I mean, that they've actually been doing this. Like, give him some time, give him some room, give him, be respectful. He is venerable, that kind of thing. But and then there was someone who worked there that is no longer working there, and I was working with him, and he was the one. And I told him like, listen, I need you to call me every month and stay on top of me and ask me questions and hold me responsible for this. It's because I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place now, and I will be. Then he doesn't work there anymore. So therefore, now I have to police myself, which is the same thing I'm teaching you all to referee and police yourself when I'm not around. But yet here I am, kind of like struggling within my own self, like that, you know. Um,
It's not an easy undergoing to write a whole book.
but the fact that if I can get through this and finish the book in the midst of all of these challenges as a celebrity monk, um, I can go through like a piece of cake
Yeah.
because it's going to be more BS when I travel. It's going to be more politics, more relationship established, more policies, more of this, more of that. I mean, just the amount of just I've attracted so many attention and the necessary conversations to be discussed, the future of Buddhism, that I know headaches are going to come and people who I'm not going to like, I have to work with, and people who, it's just, and so if I can get through this, it is momentum, something that I learned the challenges of how to overcome even more obstacles, given the previous obstacles I've already faced. So what I'm trying to say is life is never ending BS to come. So embrace it and always return back to the triple gem. And that's because I know things are going to happen forward, the way that it is going to happen forward. I realize that yes, I will have to do the same thing that I'm telling you: prostrate to the Buddha, have some time, drink some tea, sit, reflect, look at the Buddha again, write, reflect, engage, have a very balanced life. So I just hope that they treat me right and they treat me good in Vietnam, so that we can, and I hope that they're all watching, so that they're like, we should not add a needless stress to the venerable, so that he can contribute to knowledge to the world. And yeah, just because my prognosis for the children of yesterday's coming forward and children there is to come, I don't think they're gonna make it. So my job is to make that impact as much as I can, uh, with my words and what I went through. I'm just another. I'll be dead, and then this. I mean, we have so many books where authors have already died, but the books have lived and continue to contribute to the understanding of the mind. And I realized that there's not really much books or even YouTubes about the mind. The neuroscientist talks about the brain
Right.
and how the brain contributes to actions, but the depth of the mind solely, foundationally, originally resides in the Dhamma, and by and through the teachers, living the living Dhamma, like Venerable Ajahn Chah, who said, "Do you want to understand the mind? Go out and look at monkeys. Once you've seen one monkey, you understand the rest of the other monkeys."
Right.
And I was just like, "Stop!" And then he would like, because he's in the forest. All there is chicken,
Yeah.
monkeys, and cows, and all these animals, and he uses the analogy of animals to relate to the mind. And I mean, you just bust out laughing. So when you look at a Ajahn Chah's picture on Google and stuff like that, and when you see him go and when he chuckles, and I'm like, I know why he's chuckling, because he's using an animal's butt to like, relate to something to his students, and his students is just like, I just laughing, and he's like, ha ha, now you get it, right?
Right.
Oh, Ajahn Chah was a hoot. He was a hoot. Um, I mean, I even forgot a lot of his stories. I mean, again, I'm a bad storyteller because I'm all focused on the clinical aspects of Buddhism and not the storytelling side. So one of the things that I really want to go back to is literally go back to as if I'm a new monk again, um, and study the all of and really take notes, because I really didn't really take a lot of notes. I just absorbed it. I honed in on this skill because when I was doing my training, I was traveling a lot, especially on a motorcycle. So it's boring on a motorcycle. Um, so I decided to put these ear things in and really take notes in my brain. I was doing this in my brain rather than my traditional old way of taking notes. But this is why at night when I'm, you know, wandering around the room and I'm like, oh, bring up all the old teachings, and then try to refresh my memory over and over again. A Chen Cha story, I mean, just his analogies with animals and his profound understanding of the mind was what liberated so many people. And the goal here, the challenge I put for myself. So earlier we talked about the noting technique from Yuta Tamo. Yuta Tamo learned from his master, which is Ajahn Siri Mangalo, Ajahn Tong. Ajahn Tang Siri Mangalo. And Ajahn Tang learned from Mahasi Sayadaw, the tradition of Mahasi Sayadaw, the noting technique. And Mahasi Sayadaw, they said that he probably led about 200 and a quarter million people into stream entries. First stage of sainthood. And God knows how many people have already been inspired. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I just somewhere down the line, somebody do some research because I'll be dead. I won't get the statistics as I'm alive, but like the challenge for any monk is to try to lead people into the path of sotapatti. Yes, sopat. Hold on, sotapan, and then there's the sotapatti. Like there's other pronouns for it, but that is like the supreme challenge for. You can't lead people in if you don't know, and how you teach and how they gravitate towards you and stick along with you enough in order to enter the stream of not doubting the teachings. That's like daunting, but really good task for us. The life of a monk would be boring if we didn't have such a long checklist to serve the people, you know? Um, but yeah, I think the Mahasi was pretty, I mean, Buddhism survived. I mean, all of these monastics did what they did so that the, 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 the lineage dragged on this day with so many devotees paying the humble respect and their unshakable faith and confidence in certain teachers that wow, he's going to lead me in fact into the path of sainthood. And what Austin said reinforces the direct actual scientific evidence of nirvana, which also validates every prior thousands of research on meditation and benefits of meditation. The fact that he said, yeah, he says, okay, when I meditated, it felt like my brain was cracking and everything was just tumbling and I'm repairing my old cells. I can feel it in my face. Like all of his account, I'm glad I recorded that because it will be useful down the road when somebody writes a book on nirvana. Maybe I should write it. I don't think there's a book right there that's titled "The Actual Experience of Nirvana," and to collect enough data and experiences from students to paint an accurate picture for people to understand fully.
Yeah.
Do you need to stretch? Take a break before anything? Yes, yeah. I forgot to do that in our 2.5 hours. Sorry, y'all, I couldn't attend to your questions.